9:35 now here, AM 1150, 1017 FM, WDEL.com. It's Delaware for Thursday. It's December 16th. I'm Peter MacArthur. And we're talking with Chris Burkhard, Placers Staffing, like we do on occasion, to get some insight into kind of where the job market is and where the economy is in terms of perhaps your next job. Well, first of all, Chris, a good morning to you. How are you?
Happy holidays to you. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing good. Economist Chris suggesting around now that we are getting kind of close to a full employment scenario. Why is this relevant to employers and workers?
I think full employment is really a misunderstood kind of economic term, but it's when virtually all who are able and willing to work are employed. Historically, that means that's around 5% unemployment. Pete, we're at 4.2, and although the pandemic has some folks on the sidelines, by definition, we are certainly at full employment. Those that are able and willing are working. Now, I think you might have to be a bit under a rock for some of my other comments not to resonate or for you not to have experienced them, but full employment shifts the power from the employer to the employee. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot for employers and workers to think about with this. This is now officially an employee job market. I think most employers and job seekers know it, but not all businesses are adjusting. And what I find is that not all workers know how to take advantage of the moment or how to manage that job search thing professionally and appropriately, because let's face it, everybody's offering more money. Everybody might be offering a different perk. So there's just a whole thing in there. So employees are changing jobs for raises because jobs are plentiful. We talk about that often on Thursdays. And some employers are countering with wages and better benefits. And that's increasing business costs, and product prices and services are going up. And, it's causing inflation, another hot topic. But either that or profits go down, and most businesses don't exist long if that's the case.
So, Chris, as they look at the numbers, they have this household survey, they have the labor market unemployment numbers. We've talked about the unemployment numbers, but there's also this household survey that reports a different number of workers in the workforce. What do we take away from that, and how are they different numbers?
Well, I'm excited to talk about this because it's like the first really good news, Pete, in a long time. That's my opinion. But here's how it's breaking down. The government surveys households, and it says, hey, who's working in the household? And 1.1 million people returned to work in November. That's a massive number, but we have a massive number of jobs. So it doesn't seem like it really dented the armor, but it's a huge number. Now, you compare that to like the surveys they do of businesses, and businesses said they only had 200,000, or the unemployment number each week is very low of around 200,000. So there's this disparity, and I know businesses have a lot going on with the pandemic, so they're not responding to the survey results. But not a lot of people are talking about the fact that 1 million people went back to work. And in talking about unemployment, not a lot of those folks had unemployment. They were not on it. So they went back to work. So I think it's a really good sign in the short term that some of those folks on the sidelines re-entered the workforce, and it's because of stronger wages. It's because of, employers are rolling out the red carpet to attract them back. And hopefully, at least in the November timeline, it was the time where people were feeling a little bit better and safer. Obviously, we have Omicron and increasing COVID cases. So that's why I say it was a short-term thing to celebrate, but a nice trend to see.
And it just sounds like, Chris, if you're stacking up these numbers, taking a look at the unemployment numbers from the government and the household survey, probably gives you the best full picture out there, something you can really take some stock in for a broader look at where we stand. Let me ask you this.
Well, everybody's trying to figure out where their next worker is coming from, and the only place it can come from is someone that's working, or one of these folks that has been on the sidelines for 2 years.
Yeah, sure enough. There have been these articles in recent weeks, Chris, that have signaled kind of the next phase of the labor market shift from the past couple of years. We had the Great Resignation. Now there have been stories calling this next phase the Great Realization. So what do you think the realization is, and how might that affect workforce near future?
Well, I think the pace of change is so fast. Every week we talk about the next great thing or the next great reset, and it's rather kind of amazing. But a lot of research is suggesting that the last 2 years has been quite an ordeal, and it's prompted people to rethink their lives. A whole lot have quit, and I guess that's why they're calling it the Great Resignation. Really, they're looking now, but back since June, there's been about 4 million people quitting each month. So a lot of that's going on. But maybe they learned some lessons. They've reflected. And you know what? For the first time in a while, they have access to better jobs. They can get career paths. They can go work for a better leader. They're not going to do work that they don't want to do. So it's the perfect storm. You have time to think while on lockdown. You remember that not that long ago.
Yeah.
And now there's this influx of jobs. So you can realize your career right now. And a lot of times people have those ideas, but there isn't this abundance, this plentiful environment to achieve what you want.
It's amazing. Is something like this the conditions we're seeing around jobs and is this cyclical, do you think? I mean, is this the new reality, or is this just short-lived because we're dealing with pandemic stuff still? What do you think about that?
Pete, if I reflected on our last 2 years of dialogue and the pace of change and the shift, just, a reminder, when we first started, there was 22 million on unemployment.
Yeah.
22 million. And so I do feel like this is an adjustment period. To call it cyclical, it might even be too long a period.
Yeah, I hear.
I think it is the current realities. I think it's a once in a lifetime. It's a once in my business career thing where I've seen it like this.
Right.
But I think it exists for a couple of quarters. If next month another million people feel safe putting their kids in daycare or elder care situation, another million people in, then that softens the market a little bit more. So it's going to change over time. But for the foreseeable future, this sort of war for talent is advantageous to employees. And I guess it's an advantage to employers that we're doing really well, run great businesses, and can make these investments. But I hear from a lot of businesses that really can't adjust. So I guess that's a free economy.
We're putting out a lot of good info today, Chris. And for people that maybe want to get another leg up on how to apply it to their own situations, just give people kind of a little bit of quick insight into myplacers.com.
Sure. Placers is a staffing firm. Next year will be our 50th year in the Delaware market. So we're really good at helping people navigate their careers. So, myplacers.com if you're a job seeker or if you're one of these folks that's thinking about quitting or making a job change. And, the reality is that there's a whole lot of businesses in Delaware that are experiencing those quits. Yeah. So we're helping those organizations get game plans. So myplacers.com, and we're happy to help.
Sounds good. Chris, as always, I thank you, and I hope you have a good holiday, and we'll talk again soon.
Happy holidays.
Chris Burkhard from Placer Staffing in Newark joining us here on Delaware.